Hey, everybody, it's Wade and Ryan here, another NFL in London podcast. And we're almost there. It's
Oh my
1 week
God.
away.
Not
1
even.
week,
It's literally
well,
like 4 days,
days,
three
and we'll have
days.
that going. Yes, we'll have the games going. The Thursday and Friday, they're going to kick it off.
Yeah.
Lots of games, excitement. The rosters are set. Teams have cut. And we might as well start it off with the big trade. Micah was not very
Oh.
happy in Dallas, and they decided to let him go. 4 years, $188 million, the highest paid non-quarterback deal ever. Green Bay takes a swing on him. Good player, but you're starting to hear all this toxicity coming out from Dallas, saying the guy was not a good locker room presence. How do you
Here
feel?
comes the smear campaign now. Here comes the
Well,
smear
I was
campaign.
as a Bears fan, I'm delighted also,
Um,
because a lot of teams are
well,
saying they're glad they don't have to face him anymore.
to be fair, as a Bears fan, this is kind of like how everyone else felt when you guys got Khalil Mack a couple of years ago, right? And
Yeah.
everyone in the division's like, "Are you joking me? This is who it goes to." This one, I'm sure, like all like the Bears quarterbacks now, like, oh God, we got every quarterback now in that division. It just it just felt like this is what happens when you have an old owner who, and like unfortunately most teams have old owners, but one that has
Hmm.
so much control like Jerry Jones does. Like Jerry Jones believes that being a Cowboy is like the greatest gift like anyone. Everyone should just be bow down like they're in Westeros and bend the knee when you come in here to the and he's this was the easiest layup in like football history to get this contract done. Like all you had to do is just make him the highest paid player. And Miles Garrett got what, 40 something? He's 29, going to be 30 this year. You know, Micah Parsons is 25, going to be 26, or he's 26 now. This is an absolute debacle of a trade. And then to only get two, which are gonna be late first, what, like 26 to 32 picks, an old
Hmm.
30-year-old defensive tackle. Like, I mean, he is on some copium, that man, and some other things apparently that have he's mixed his meds, I think, it is the actual proof. I just have nothing to say. There's If you're a Packers fan, you're just like, how did this fall into our lap? The fact that they didn't trade him to the AFC is crazy. The fact that the Packers in that documentary, which I didn't watch, I only watched tiny clips, they said like the most humiliating loss in the history of the team was that Packers loss, which was literally a year, not even a year ago. So
Yeah.
all this stuff, and you're like, you know who we should give our best player to? It feels like them, and it just feels like Dallas, like Dallas as a city has lost. Was it Luka Doncic and now Micah Parsons in 1 year? Two of the best players in the league. You've got gifted these. He was, no, let's just get rid of them. So if Dallas ends up with the first pick overall, then maybe we're going to talk about a double Dallas shenanigans going on. But I mean, if you're a Packers fan, you're loving life. If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, before the season starts, where you already had a million questions, I don't know what you're hoping for this year. Like, it's a tricky one, but a terrible decision, I think, by Jerry Jones.
Well, I mean, they did spend some money afterwards. I mean, they spent what, 4 year, $92 million on Darren Bland, the cornerback. You still have issues. I mean, and also the big issues I find they have is their offensive line. You still didn't address that. So, and their running game as well. There's a lot of issues that puts a lot of pressure on Dak this year. I mean, now you've got posthumously people saying, oh, he was kind of a distraction in the locker room, very selfish, very entitled, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's sort of, you know, buyer's remorse, or if it's just people just being sour about him going.
I
Obviously
think of
being in the AFC
the
North is going to be tough.
podcast too bugged them. I think the podcast, the fact that every game is going up talking, and I think again, it's just this new wave of the old people, the boomers and the new kids, like who want to do podcasts every game. I don't know who has the time to listen to all these podcasts. The number of podcasts that are in existence by players, so you must have to listen to like 100 a day to even, or listen to
Yeah.
them on like 5 times the speed, like the chipmunks going through it. I think again, Jerry Jones might even be worried about, he just traded for George Pickens, who's on a contract here. If he blows it up and they have this really dominant offense, which they could, they got CeeDee Lamb, they
Hmm.
got weapons. And
Yep.
maybe there's like, listen, I'll keep that side together and I'll just kind of get a patchwork D and I'll just be this. He's like kind of like the Bengals, got to go with this,
Yeah. Just
you
score,
know,
score, score with yeah.
scores 9 points. But you know, because Dak when he's on, you know, he's as good as anybody. But again, offensive
Yeah.
line problems, and now without defensive help, like you already had problems. That team couldn't stop anybody last year. So, and now you're going into Philly in the first game
Hmm.
of the season, and one of the toughest defenses in the league. And now, like, if you get blown out and this looks bad, this could get. And then you have, you know, Micah Parsons, his first game versus Detroit, goes out there and gets 3 sacks, kind of like what Khalil Mack did. I think the first game
Yeah.
he got traded for, he went out and just was absolutely dominant from the top, from the get go, almost won Defensive Player of the Year. So it's funny. It's a good trade. Our buddy Andre is loving life, and I think if you're anyone in the NFC or North, you're hating Jerry Jones even more than you probably already did.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm not that worried about it. It's like we'll see what happens. Obviously, if he has a wrecking crew game against us, but you know, I'm hoping that he's a bit can be a bit sour in the locker room. That's a lot of money. You're on the hook for a long time in this one too, man. Like this is you're pushed against your trade cap is like very narrow at this point. So you know, Green Bay has gone a lot of money in on this. So we'll see. Obviously, how it plays out. He's talking a big game, but he also, you know, famously was laying down in the past preseason games. Trade me, trade me, trade me. So there's going to be a learning curve for him to get back into it. I don't know if he's going to be full 100% going into
You,
game one.
you know, and to be fair, I guess if you want to just say devil's advocate for a bit. Like he during big playoff games, he did not show up. Micah Parsons in the biggest moments was invisible in a lot of those games. I don't know if it was injury or what or ski, but it's kind of like again. I think you want to see like the guys like Aaron Donald back in the day. Like these guys, you know, Chris Jones. When you need a big play, when the game's on the line, Von Miller. You want a guy who's going to be
Mm-hmm.
able to kind of put him away, get you that stop, get you that ball back when you
Yeah.
need it. And he has not, to his credit, yet done that. And you know,
No.
it's not to say he's not going to with Green Bay, and I think he is still one of the best defensive players. But if you want to say if you're Dallas and you're trying to make yourself feel better, that's one way to kind of look at it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the dominance of Aiden Hutchinson, obviously for Detroit, who was injured last year, and you notice there was a noticeable drop in Detroit's defensive pressure system, losing him. You know, now obviously he's going to be healthy. He's had enough time to get healthy again. So, I mean, playing against those guys, they're still going to have the same. Jordan Love's still going to have the same problems. He was harried by that Lions defense. Had so much potential, and then just fell short in the playoffs last year. Um, I mean, it's all sort of the drama that goes into it. To me, it's just the amount of money you're on the hook for. And you know,
I
as
mean,
you
the
say,
cap goes up every year. You can kind of justify. The
yeah,
good thing with Green Bay is that Green Bay is such a young team, and they haven't really like had to pay. It's kind of funny. Like they haven't really had that big kind of free agent hit or that sorry, not free agent
no,
draft hits. You know, like their draft picks. You know, the Jaden Reeds, the Watsons, the Dobbs. None of them really like took off where you had to pay them 20, 30 million. So they're paying everyone else kind of peanuts outside of Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs,
yeah,
Rashawn Gary. There's not they got rid of Jair Alexander's contract. They aren't really paying anybody. They're a young team. So I think right now it was the perfect time for them, like strategically, like a
yeah,
team like Baltimore or Kansas City, they couldn't make that trade. There's no way you could fit that type of money in there. Like you'd be, the only team I'd probably do it would be Philly somehow. Philly would find a way, but they're not trading in the division.
yeah.
Howie
You're
Roseman would
not going to
find the
trade in the division, yeah.
no, but Howie Roseman always, there's always money in the banana sand for Howie Roseman. He's got like 5 banana sands, I think.
Yeah, and I
So
mean, there was again to your point, not going to the AFC because you start looking, you go, okay, Denver, people that are really trying to make a push for this year. You wonder what other teams were left out of the negotiations and sort of who the final three were, because obviously his agent would have worked out, who are the guys we're going to take. But going to the NFC and then going to someone, as you say, that Jerry Jones infamously said, we've got problems with this team, and they've had problems, and this is two teams that do have a storied history. It just seems a bit suspect. You're like, okay, that's sort of weird, or sus, as the kids call it.
that's
Um, sus. Let's talk about your Bills. Terry Pagula was spotted off his $100 million yacht off the coast, and Buffalo Bill
Yes.
fans start screaming at, like, hey, we're paying for the stadium, and you're out there living the lap of luxury. And
That's
then,
it.
of course, there was also. Yeah.
Socialism for the rich. That's what it always is. It's socialism for the rich and capitalism for the rest of us. They're able to
Yeah.
always find money to get them. But I mean, I don't think any bill really cares. I mean, everyone disposes of guys in yachts. I think that's every single player, every team owner. You got, Jeff Bezos has one the size of a battle star, like literally
Hmm.
the size of a football field going out there. So I find it funny, but I think every team's listen. If the option is the Bills, we have to watch Terry Pagula in a yacht, or the Bills leave. I'll watch. I'll watch an asshole in a yacht. Rich
How
prick
do you
in a yacht.
how do you feel? Because it's the last year, obviously, at the old Ralph Wilson, Highmark, whatever, stadium. A bit of nostalgia, I guess, for the Buffalo fans, because the new stadium looks nice.
Yeah,
We won't
it
have the
has
same
seats. It
wintry
has chairs.
worries. Yeah,
Yeah, it's yeah, well they actually they kind of used the Tottenham Stadium as their kind of blueprint. They kind of used it's kind of designed almost kind of very similar to the way it looks, the way they've kind of been able to neutralize wind, I think,
yeah.
on the field and do stuff like that. But again, like you have Cleveland who just announced I think they're building a dome or something like that.
Hmm.
And it just feels like the one thing you can have to your advantage. I don't feel if you have a dome you have any advantage anymore. Not in
Yeah,
the NFL anymore. I think if a dome you've automatically put yourself in disadvantage. If you're like a hot weather team, someone like Miami, someone like Los Angeles in the playoffs, you got to come to Buffalo in January. You're gonna suffer. It's gonna be hard for
yeah.
you. It's uncomfortable for you, but it's more uncomfortable for them. And I think if you build a dome, I understand maybe you want Super Bowls and concerts and stuff like that, but to lose your one advantage Cleveland had, which was weather, if they could actually in that rowdiness and that chaos and that
Yeah.
to now make it a dome where you put Patrick Mahomes in a dome in January, he's loving Josh Allen in a dome in January, Lamar, they're loving life. This is the
Oh, yeah.
best thing ever. So I think teams when you're building a new stadium, really got to take into consideration what is your home field advantage, and I think Cleveland is making a terrible mistake. It's Cleveland. The idea of football in Cleveland is that dirty, cold. Like there was that game I think last year, Cleveland and Pittsburgh had that Jameis game in the snow where it was just
Yeah.
wild and there was touchdowns everywhere. That's fun football. To take that away, so I'm glad. I'm kind of glad Buffalo stuck with. At first, I'm part of torn. Do we do this? But let's take that advantage because it's definitely an advantage for some teams.
Well, I mean, Cleveland doesn't have a history of spending stupid money, though.
They
So,
don't have to worry about the playoffs. So
yeah.
unfortunately for them. But
Um, so obviously we're NFL in London. We talk about some of the England news because, obviously watching the games, we've had DAZN and then there was Game Pass before, Sky Sports. Now you've probably seen everything. So it's going to be Channel 5, Sky Sports Plus. It's looking like, and you start looking at the schedule, spoiled for games. Now, when it comes to blackouts, the main games will be blacked out on Sky, but it doesn't look like they'll be blacked out from the Channel 5 games. Do you think this is a big win for fans in the UK
what
that
are the
we've
Channel
got?
5 games? Is that like the 1 o'clock games and the Channel 5 games? Like which ones?
They're doing the 1 o'clock and the 4 o'clock.
And
They're doing two games.
oh, 4
And
o'clock.
Sky
I mean,
Sports is doing two games. So they're doing two games, Sky Sports, but a Sky Sports, I think, is doing like even more than that. They're going to do almost three games, if not more than a week. And then if you look at the schedule on Sky Sports Plus, they also have games on. So, those won't be blacked out, but at least I think now Sky, because the network is maybe not doing as well, but they've spent a lot of money on this. And Channel 5 is Paramount, CBS. So obviously they've got some rights to it as well. And it looks like if you look at it, they're doing a game show or something on Channel 5 that's going to go with it. It's
yeah,
OC, Samantha Queck, and Dermot O'Leary.
something. Dermot,
The football names, all the people we know.
Dermot McDermott.
Dermot
Um,
McDermott.
Yeah, Nick. I think again, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. I think when you have games, the 1 o'clock game on a Sunday, like how many people are you really getting to watch that? I'd be fascinated by the numbers,
Yeah.
insomniacs and betting psychopaths who
Well, I
probably
mean the
just
1 p.m. What we call it 6 p.m. games.
no,
So
but
the
I'm
one
talking about
p.m. games.
you're talking about the 1 p.m. games. If they get those
1 p.m. So
if I
yeah,
mean anything in the late stuff, even 9 o'clock, you even see it when you would go out and watch it, and you get the 6 o'clock games got a nice little crowd around. Once that 9 o'clock game hits, it really thins out, and by halftime at the 9 o'clock, it's only really the teams who are on the big screen are sticking around. Everyone else kind of leaves. You get trickle in. It's because everyone's got to go to work on Monday, so it's the 6 o'clock game's beautiful. More of that, but once
yeah.
it gets to 9 and people got to go to work Sunday, the 1 o'clock, like just forget about it, as they say.
I think also the problem we experience too when we're putting on events, and I mean, obviously, we used to host the Hippodrome and host a lot of events at different places. The difficult became when the Premier Leagues scheduled those 4:30 games, and so
Yeah.
that 4:30 game meant the overrun would be the games wouldn't finish till 6:30, and a lot of the bars that we worked with were like, "Oh, well, we're not putting the NFL on until this game is done," and you're like, "It's 4-0. We have 150 people in here who want to watch the NFL." They're like, "Yeah, my manager says." It's like, well, you've just really shot yourself
You
in
don't
the
want to
foot.
get a bottle to the face. That's why, because it piss off the football fans, those hooligans.
Yeah, well, it's not like Millwall doesn't play every week, and they're not in the Premier League, but it became one of those things where it became very difficult for anyone. And the price of pints in the UK has gone up so much as well that it became one of those like, wow, Jesus, what are we doing here? I think it's gonna be interesting. The problem I find that you worry about Channel 5 getting it is, are they going to be playing that placate football? It's like, so a touchdown is worth 6 points. Now you
Well,
have the option after this, where it's like this
you
pedantic,
well, that's what they
just,
did. That's what they did on Netflix in the Christmas game, I think
yeah,
last year. And they were like, oh, 4 downs. Let's go talk to Drew Brees. And he's like, okay, guys, a down is when
yeah,
and it was so pandering. And then it would be like Scott Hansen's like, I'm getting a text from someone in Taiwan who's like, this is so informative. And you're like, this is a nightmare fuel for
yeah.
anyone. It's just like listen, this isn't, you're not teaching bowlers, we're not going to little hurling.
It's
Just
not
everyone
cricket.
should,
Yeah, it's not like
people are,
cricket for Americans or something.
yeah, they were just getting so excited. So I hope it's not going to be anything like that. Don't pander to people. People can figure out how to play the game. If you're watching it, you're probably watching with someone who can explain it to you. I don't know how many people
Yeah,
just throw on. Like it took me a while to learn rugby's rules, but every
yeah,
time I had a
sure.
question, I would ask somebody. But I would
You
kind
ask
of just
someone
watch
beside you,
it.
yeah,
You'll be able to figure it out if you pay attention enough. You got enough commercial breaks in the game. That's
sure.
what they're there for, to ask somebody, hey,
Or most
what's
people
up?
are on their phones anyway. Yeah, you're on your phone. If it's like, oh, okay, what's a 2 point conversion? Just Google it so someone dunderhead's not telling you
Yeah,
every
check
week, okay, a two
ChatGPT.
point conversion.
You could just
Yeah,
watch it with honestly, you could just watch it with ChatGPT, your best friend, and be like, "Hey, what
yeah,
happened there?" And then he'd just be, he'd compliment you and just be like, "That was a
yeah.
brilliant question.
Nice
You're so
ask. Nice
smart.
ask, Ryan. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
so smart and handsome." And only smart people like you ask questions like this. Um, but yeah, so we'll
You would
see.
hope that if they do that, I mean, because they're adding a game show element apparently, Channel
No,
5.
well, that
They've been on
of
our
course.
socials posting that they're going to be adding a game show, which, that's what everyone cares about is a silly game show. As opposed to getting wings, taking a piss, or yeah, calming your kids down.
Or yeah, you're
Uh,
screaming at your fantasy lineup and cursing that they're
oh yeah.
tweeting at them, calling them assholes.
Fantasy, everyone's gotten into fantasy. It was interesting because, we used the NFL app for many years, and last year it just got really bad. Now, I've been looking at a lot of the forums, we get messages because some people mistake us for the NFL sometimes, that it crashed, and there were people doing their drafts this
Yeah.
weekend, and the app crashed, and they had to redo it, or they didn't have it. We use Sleeper, but in terms of your how many fantasy
I'm in
groups are you in
mostly
this year?
ESPN and then the one with you and the sleeper one. But ESPN, I think it's been fine. I have a draft tomorrow where we're going to do kind of people will be jumping in remotely. So, I mean, fingers crossed. I haven't had a problem with it over the years. So I mean, yeah, the NFL. I think the NFL just with this whole going over to ESPN and the merger, they've kind of just neglected everything, and everything just kind of
Yeah,
gotten worse. So I assume when you're gonna have technical issues probably and red zone, you're gonna have all because everyone's just kind of ESPN's in charge, right? So they gotta pay Stephen A. Smith all that money, so you gotta get
yeah,
some commercial. So enjoy your last commercial-free red zone year. Is basically what I say.
yeah. We'll be interested in that. I mean, it is, as to your point, ESPN. I think, we had sort of waited to see, is ESPN going to take over the app? Their app has, I've used the ESPN app before as well, but then you're like, are they taking over? Because are they going to grind this old NFL app to the ground, and what was going to happen with it? I guess for me, thinking was, okay, after they announce this deal, maybe ESPN will take over the app, or maybe they had plans to begin with to go, okay, NFL app is gone. We're going to migrate all your stuff, all your league, everything. Because, we had a history in our league going back
Yeah.
10 years of winners. And you sort of have to go, okay, well, that's done. I screenshotted everything, took all that stuff out. But you go, we're over with that now. So, what are some of the? Do you have any surprise or people that you are looking for or were looking for in your fantasy that you're like high on, or people that you're like, I'm not going to touch, like CMC or someone like that?
I mean, it really depends. Like, I think that there's such a depth in receiver. It feels like receiver's the one you can kind of just wait a couple rounds. Like, there's young guys coming up, second year guys who take the step. Like, guys like Roma Dunze who like looked really good, and you can see this guy taking this big leap. And so to me, it's like early, just get that stud running back. Like that was my problem last year. I had a terrible year because I had Travis Etienne and someone else as my running
Yeah,
backs. And if you just don't have that dude like every month or every week, unless you're getting like Chase and like outside of Chase, I just don't see it. Even if it's CD Lamb, sure you're gonna get the balls, but to me, if you don't have that stud at running back, that's why a guy like Christian McCaffrey who's going, late first round, early second, it's clenching your butt cheeks when you take that pick in. You just send
yeah.
that pick in because you're just gonna be. But the fruits that this plant can give you if it just goes crazy, and if you get them in the second round, because I think a lot of people are just gonna be afraid of them. Um,
Yeah.
I think my guy this year, I think the best fantasy guy this year is going to be Jameer Gibbs. I think he's just ready to kind of just elevate to the next level. And they're just going to kind of unleash him. They've only really, again, I think you're going to see less of the Sonic and the Knuckles and more of the Sonic. I think this year. So
You think Montgomery is not going to be as used as much?
not as much. No, I think now that Ben Johnson's gone, I think they're going to kind of when you lose that kind of genius, it's like genius play caller as he was. You kind of need to just get back to basics and like who are our best players? Let's get them the ball. Let's put the ball in the hands of the guy who can do the most damage. So I see a big year Gibbs, especially receiving that. So I'm quite excited for him. If I can get him, I have one draft tomorrow at 4. If I can get him at 4, that would be great. But he'll probably be gone. And then I get Saquon or Bijan. One or the other. So I feel like if you're in 1 to 4 is like a great spot. I think so. I'm quite excited.
How many people are in the league?
12-team league.
12 team. Okay.
Yeah. So again, to me, if you're not, I think again the quarterbacks too. If you're not getting, Josh Allen, Lamar, Burrow, or even not even Mahomes, like Jaden Daniels probably now. If you're not getting one
Yeah.
of those 4, like you probably have to take them in the second or third round. I mean, he's just got to be. I've had the mistake many years where it's like you just leave quarterback around too late, and then there's a run, and then you're like, ah, god damn it, I got to get Tua or something like that as my starter, or Trevor Lawrence, and hoping for the
Yeah.
redemption arc. So to me, I want to get a good, solid quarterback I can trust. And a running back I can trust, and just take some flyers on some young receivers. Hope a couple of them hit, a couple of them just take off. Some rookies in there, good offenses, staying away from anything, you know, bad offenses, bad juju. Like all the teams, I don't want anything to do with any Saints. I don't want anything to do with any Browns, any Jets. I don't want anything to do with Garrett Wilson. I've had him 2 years in a row. I'm not falling for it again. And I probably will end up with Kyle Pitts somehow because he always ends up like herpes. He just pops up on my team every year.
Um, I got Baker in a couple of my leagues,
I
and he
like
sort of
Baker.
fell because Yeah, Baker puts up he chunks up some big yardage, and for me it was just getting somebody because Josh went quickly, and somebody had taken Josh Allen first round, and they're like, okay, I'll load
Yeah.
up on running backs while you do that. Um, Bijan was third in many of my leagues. Do you think that's a lot of hype for Bijan that he's going to be that
I
dramatic with
mean,
Penix taking over this year?
I think there's just the progression. I think he looks. His first year was all right. It wasn't bad. Showed flashes. Second year, he looked really strong. He was catching more balls. The thing is, he just hasn't been able to just break them. Like Saquon breaks them. He's got the speed. He's got everything. He just hasn't been able to hit those home runs. And I think that's what they're kind of expecting a bit more. He plays in a dome. He's going to be heavily featured. Penix is going to give him the ball. So to me, I think again, Bijan's a no-brainer. If you get third, I think that's smart. I think that's where a lot of people are trusting Penix again, even with their offense. Drake London, if Penix steps up, I think Bijan could have one of the best years. Be potentially lead the league in rushing. So I think it's a smart pick. I'd take him at 4 if he falls to me tomorrow. We'll
Yeah, I
see.
mean it was weird because we did. I was in a couple 10-person leagues, and there was a lot of we said meat on the bone left when you start getting deep, and you're like, oh god, there's a lot of guys that you got to have that flexibility in your bench to look at it by week 2 to go, I'm going to cut this guy, because there's other people, we've always got like our friend Zared who's got his finger on the button, ready to just grab the first guy available. He got him, put in a waiver. So it's just interesting to me just to see the flexibility of I think there's going to be some guys that surprise this year that you'd be like, oh, a few breakouts. And I don't know if
Well,
it's going to be a rookie or if it's just someone where, someone who's old hat.
and it just shows like what a year could do. Like for example, 2 years ago, Tyreek Hill was going like number one or like number one, or the year last year. And now he's going in like the third round, third maybe even the fourth round, because everyone's a bit like this guy's getting old. He's a bit of a pain. The Miami's a bit
Yeah.
of a disaster. So it just shows how fast you can go from top of the league to now like fifth round, sixth round. People just forget about you.
And it was also, I think there was at also the end of the season where he's just sort of like, I'm done. I'm leaving this place. I don't care. So when you have that attitude, it's like, well, he's a quitter, man. Like, you're gonna have that. I don't know if I want him. It was the same in one of the leagues I was in where he just kept dropping, and was talking with Zara, and he's like, no one's taking him. No one's taking him. Same with T Higgins. You're just sort of watching, and everyone's like, I don't know. I'm not sure yet. I don't know. So there's going to be those guys, but there's going to be a few running backs I think that show up, and I don't know if it's Ashton Genty. There's a lot of pressure being put on this guy that he's going to lead it, but you never know what's going to happen if Vegas doesn't
Yeah.
have the O line to hold it up.
I don't really want to take Genty. If I'm in the first round, I'll take him if it's like 9 or 10, but I don't really feel comfortable taking him high. Again, now that the
Yeah,
Raiders' offensive line, it doesn't, it is still, it's Geno, but again, he didn't look dominant in preseason, but you're not really going to rush him. And I think he just tries to like take too much contact. And I think, you saw that with Zeke. He could have like a 5-year career. It could be a really good 5-year career, but your body's going to wear down if you just unloading punishment. And he's over the years, the number of touches he's had is ludicrous compared to like he has like James Cook's been in the league, I think 3 years, and I think Genty has more touches in his career, counting college,
yeah,
than James Cook does with 3 NFL
yeah.
years added. So it's like it's just wild. So Genty, I'm going to say I'd much rather get like the Patriots rookie, the
Trayvon Henderson,
yeah, Trayvon Henderson. I think Ollie something in I can't remember. I got just
Omarion,
doing my in the Chargers, kind of taking over for the
Chargers, yeah,
Chargers because the Chargers are going to be a
Omarion,
big.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm thinking about him. He could be like kind of a big steal, guys that are kind of going late. And I'm
yeah,
just I'm just not trusting. I'm going to be a ageist. I'm going no one over 30 on my
sure.
team.
Well, you have to
I'm
look at
going to
certain
be like
teams.
Leo DiCaprio, 25 and under.
Yeah,
That's going to be my.
and you look at the Browns. I mean, they've got a few. They got that rookie wide receiver. They
Yeah.
had Ford as well. But you look at teams that are going to have to be reliant on running game. I mean, even Daniel Jones taking over in Indianapolis, Jonathan Taylor was just crushing for years. Then we saw the injury. We saw the down on him, and you wonder. It's like because he was quite low, and I sort of go, is he back? Or is he going to be too old, or just not as demonstrative as he had been in other years? Um, yeah, there's a few guys like that. You're like, I wonder if the old age is going to come back, or does
Yeah.
Saquon have a drop? Does he is he going to maybe drop it as much? Does D Henry drop? You get older, you put yourself up for injury.
I mean, again, I think everyone's had this thing of this, like, can he do? I think we've had this conversation about Derrick Henry for the last like 5 years. Like, can he have
Yep.
another good year? And then first game, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. You're
Yeah.
like, gosh damn it, why? And he still goes late in the drafts, right? Because everyone still has that
Yeah.
lingering kind of feeling where you're like,
Sure.
what is he going to be good? So yeah, I think that just is with everyone. We've all been burned, but it's better to have
Yes, we've all
loved
been burned.
than to never have loved at all.
That's so prophetic and yeah, lovely. Um, Hard Knocks, Bills. Did you watch it? And any
I have
takeaways from
watched
that?
I have watched them all. Hard Knocks is basically only for the fans of the team, to be honest with you. It has no real broad appeal anymore. I think once they got rid of the firing of the players and then watching that kind
Yeah,
of human element.
the drama, the man
And I don't
drama
think
that
it
we
was, I
love.
think, yeah, it was like catharsis. You just felt bad for them. And then you get that kind of scroller at the end. He's signed on the practice squad. You're kind of
Yeah,
happy for it. So I mean, again, it's for a Bills fan, I love it. It's great to see all this access, but it's not. I just don't think it's interesting. I don't see why anyone outside of Buffalo would watch it. And that's kind of the way I felt the last couple of years. Like the Bears won last year, and I was just kind of
yeah.
watched the first three, and I was like, all right, yeah.
You
And I
get
think
yourself
that's
hooked on the drug though. Yeah, you get hooked on the player drug. I mean, the Theo Benedict. I've just ordered a Theo Benedict jersey, Canadian Eagle. But you sort of get hooked on that, all the drama that goes with it.
But that's why I
Interesting
think the
enough, what?
mid-season one is better because the mid-season one, at least you can have that drama of the season. The stakes are higher. People are fighting.
Yeah,
There's bit more drama. So I think training camp's just, I think, a bit vanilla. You're watching people stretch. You don't have
yeah.
that intensity that football thrives on. And it's just kind of guys like, I'm doing a puppet show for my rookie class.
The real winner, I think, of all of it is Liev Schreiber.
He's all,
Because look at you just add so many. Like he's gone from doing this, just doing VOs for 1 year, and suddenly it's like, and we're doing mid-season, we're doing this, we're doing this. It's like,
good side
doesn't have to
hustle.
do the
It's got a
movies.
good side hustle.
Yeah, it's his good side hustle. The interesting one too is watching that with Shiloh Sanders taking a swing from the Buccaneers at the Buffalo player. In that game, final game, you know, he's
Yeah. That's the way to
what
go
the hell
out
are you
swing.
doing?
He went out swinging, I guess you could say. He went out
Yeah, he
swinging.
did. But
He
then
got cut
he's
almost immediately when he got off the field.
yep, and the fine he was fined $4,669 or something like that. But he's 25 years old, Shiloh. I didn't realize that. Like he's like old
Oh
as
wow.
Bo Nix.
I mean,
And you sort of
I can't imagine anything. Yeah, I just think he's just gonna go do his own thing. Kind of like one of the Ball brothers, kind of reminds you of the Ball brothers from
yeah,
basketball, like
sure.
Lonzo, the three of them. They're like all three, and then one of them was really shit, but now one of them's like a rapper, which I'm sure I shall end up. And who knows? Who knows where?
Yeah,
They have the money. He can go do whatever he wants. It's fine. You don't worry. You never thinking, oh, poor Shiloh Sanders. What's he gonna do without football? Yeah, he'll be fine.
yeah.
He'll be fine.
Interesting. I don't know if you watched any college football. His first week of college football
I
get
do not.
going.
I do not.
Alabama took a big loss to Florida. The one that I was watching, I watched the Ohio State Texas game, and Arch Manning did not look good. I mean, he was throwing behind the ball. He was under pressure. Obviously, it was Ohio State's defense. Um, but the big game also tonight is going to be on Sunday night is Bill Belichick and UNC. His first
Oh,
game. He's going against TCU, the Horned Frogs. We were a tough football team, you know. Um,
that's quite
what do
fun.
you
That'll be
think?
quite interesting.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting game. I'm going to watch it tonight. I'm going to maybe drug my girlfriend so she sleeps. I don't
I'm
want to watch
going to.
this.
I'm going to. It's going to be fascinating because like Belichick should just be able to coach rings around these guys, like just
Should.
completely. It really depends on
Yeah.
his talent and what the talent level he has. But even in New England, he necessarily didn't have always the best, most talented players, but he was always just
Mhm.
he just smarter than you. So it's like a Jedi Master going up against a Padawan. He's just going to take him out one by one. And I think he's just going to do like throat strangles from one side to the other sideline, just taking him out. I'm
Yeah.
fascinated to watch what Bill Belichick does because if he goes on and just has a dominant year and next year wins the national championship, let's just say just has a
Yeah.
crazy run. Does he? Is this like his way back into the NFL for one last shot? Because Pete Carroll's 74, he's in it, so This is,
Yeah.
or is it just gonna be he's just gonna fall on his face because his girlfriend's the offensive coordinator by half mid-season?
Well, he's got that Urban Meyer in him that, he's like only seems to be into college football for the pussy. That my girlfriend used to go to school like 5 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yes.
Well, we're gonna do another podcast on the picks, but let's do. We always do this before the season kicks off, before it starts. We look at sort of our early, but let's do a Super Bowl kind of prediction in terms of how you see who comes out of the AFC, who comes out of the NFC, how it all works. I mean, and I've been reading a lot. So the Super Bowl this year, as you probably know, is in San Francisco. It's in Levi's Stadium, if they still call it that. I think they might, but it's going to be in California, which the weather can be up and down. It could be rainy, could be really crappy. It's not as consistent as Florida, but we've got the Super Bowl in there. There is a lot of pundits that I've seen that are calling. I've seen one guy say San Francisco is going to go undefeated and get their way to the Super Bowl, which just seems a bit silliness to say to it. Who do you like in terms of how do you
Oh,
see it getting through
right.
the AFC, getting through the NFC, and how it all works out?
I mean, obviously, I want to say Buffalo. I'm not going to though. I feel like I say it, it just feels wrong. I don't want to be that guy who just takes them every single year. I just think I just can't trust them that Sean McDermott can beat Andy Reid in a playoff game. I just haven't seen it. I haven't seen this defense. I don't know if Joey Bosa is going to be around in January. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I do know is that, Baltimore, Derrick Henry is going to be there in December, crushing people. Lamar had his best season ever last year, and that loss on him probably killed him. Like, so I'm going to go Baltimore I'm going to go Baltimore, Philly. I
Okay.
just think the NFC, I think outside of the Packers, I think now with Micah, they're just too niche of a pick where you just feel like because again, to me the Packers defense was a problem, but I think Matthew Golden's really going to help them. But to me, their other receivers were a massive problem last year. They couldn't do anything. Like Jaden Reed, who had that first good game and then was just invisible the whole season. Christian Watson, you just cannot. This guy is undependable at the most. Dobbs, he's getting traded, he's getting benched, he's getting suspended by his team. And so to me, the offense still to me has questions. The defense I think is going to be better. But to me, Philly's just the most overall just sound team. That defense is awesome. They got weapons galore and offense. One of the best offensive lines, one of the best defensive lines, and the trenches is just what dominates. And now that we've seen Sirianni win a championship, it's no more of the Sirianni factor, where you would say in the past, where you'd be like, I can't see that numbskull winning a Super Bowl. So as much as would love to see Bills Packers, it's my dream Super Bowl. I'd love to see that. I'm gonna go with Baltimore Philly. And I'm going to go with the Ravens to win it all. I'm going to go with the Ravens, Lamar to
Wow.
get
Okay.
his Super Bowl finally. I want it to be Josh Allen. I think it can be, but I'm not going to do it because then I feel like I'm jinxing it.
Well, I know you and I align on a lot of things. I've got the exact same one. I've got Baltimore,
Really?
Philly with Baltimore winning. Yeah. I
What?
wrote that down earlier, and wow, we're too predictable sometimes. It seems like, Philadelphia, it was their year last year, and you wonder, it's like, does the juju of Reed and Spags beat them? And you look at the dominance of that defense, and that was not a clean or an easy Super Bowl. That was a beatdown. And you could just see Kansas City so frustrated by this. And we could see throughout the season, that Kansas City, they won some games close, but they were very close. And they weren't as dominant as they used to be. It was like, in Casino, when Joe Pesci is doing too much coke and he just can't punch as hard anymore, it felt like
His
that. It
kicks,
felt
his
like they
kicks.
just,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's true.
they
I
lost.
remember that.
He took a few punches before he could knock a guy down, and it felt like that. Um, and it just seems Baltimore is primed, just like Philadelphia, in that Lamar is, when you come so close, and it's always just that leap and the MVP and all of these things, and watching this happen and going, it's not that game that they lost. They do still have that juju against Kansas City. And I think when they saw the way Buffalo played them and the way it was, it's like, I think we can beat them this year. I think we can beat them. Kelsey's getting old, and then you look at, is Pacheco really going to be the running back for Kansas City? Is he really, I mean, he wasn't that good last year, but he wasn't as dominant. You would never put him in a top 5 tier with, Derrick Henry or Saquon or Gibbs.
Yeah.
I think, and we look at Detroit, I feel Detroit could have a bit of a regression this year, whether it's losing Ben Johnson, whether it's just the feistiness keeps up. But then I think there's going to be other surprises as well. San Fran, I mean, everyone's talking about them. I just, everyone's like, oh, San Fran could get there. They could be there. I don't know, man.
It's
Like,
just their
San Fran to
schedule is
me,
easy. That's why. Their schedule is
schedule's
super
easy. But is it, this is real. Now Brock Purdy's getting paid. Now he's getting paid, but they lost a lot of guys. They lost a lot of defense. And they used to be able to have that ability to choke out the other opponent to make sure that Purdy had, no stupid passes. Just keep it easy. Just keep it up the middle. Keep it moving. Keep the ball going. He's good. He's an efficient in terms of don't make mistakes. But, as we've seen, they really fell last year, and I just can't see the dominance that they have coming. The other, obviously, we look at quarterbacks that are in year 6, which is including Jordan Love and Justin Herbert, and you wonder when the Chargers are going to really get it together, because their defense was quite shutout defense. The defense is still going to be good. It's a tough division. And so I'm wondering who do you have as the team that's going to sort of surprise? Because last year I would say it was Denver. I think a lot of people were like, okay, they went from not really
easy.
being close in it to being quite good. And a lot of people are thinking maybe they could. And obviously they made some good trades. Bo Nix, we'll see what happens in his second year. But who is another team that you might think, okay, these guys could be a bit of a surprise?
You know what? I'm gonna say so it could be done. I think the Panthers might be a bit of a surprise. I think
Okay.
Bryce Young, the way he ended last season, I think again the fact that they got that Ted McMillan
Yeah.
guy, they traded Adam Thielen, but I think I just something about them, Chuba looked good. I just feel like they could be a surprise. Even the Tennessee Titans, little sneaky team. I think the fact that Cam Ward is the first overall pick, and no one's even talking about this. You'd think he was
Yeah.
in the league. He was like a journeyman playing in his like 12th season. There's so little, and I think they do have Calvin Ridley. They got Pollard had a decent year last year. They got some pieces. They definitely can do. And I just think they're just so under the radar, and in a weak division that. To me, could they be in December fighting for the division? Maybe. I think if Cam Ward has a good season, I think he could be kind of a fun one. So
Yeah. I think the Bucks will be interesting. I mean, they almost beat
yeah,
Detroit in the
exactly.
playoffs, and you look at this team and you look at the amount Mike Evans healthy. You've got Godwin who's going to be back. The running game with Bucky Irving. The defense has added some pieces to it. Those Florida teams do really well at the start of the season. And my other interesting one, I think, could be. I mean, like we haven't really talked that much about Houston because if we look at a couple years ago, Houston was really good. They had some injuries. Stroud was not as demonstrative. They had some injuries across the their wide receiver core. You've got a healthy bunch. You've got Chubb. You've got Mixon, who's out for a few games, obviously. But this is a team that you sort of go, okay, could they be a 12-win team? And then also ownership. We talk about the death of what's his name from the Colts, and his daughter's taking over the team. You still have a lot of players
So
in
then
there.
Daniel Jones too, and
Is
Daniel
Daniel
Jones is funny.
Jones finally going to step up? Because, even when I think of like the pressure that goes for JJ McCarthy going on there, that's a lot of pressure for a guy coming off an injury to think that Minnesota, their coaching is going to do well. There's a lot of
I mean,
X factors that I have there.
there's so many, and that's why it's going to be interesting. Just even the first couple of weeks, we're going to have answers to questions we've been kind of waiting all year for. So like Michael Penix, all these kind of young guys. Again, I think someone like Houston is Stroud has had a bet is going to be able to bounce back and kind of. But they got a great defense, but their offense is now the
Yeah,
liability. They got Joe Mixon, who's not even really playing. So,
yeah.
it's
But
and
you
he
got
might not even
Chubb, you
play
got some
this year.
good running. Yeah,
I mean, you got
yeah,
Chubb and you got Damon Pierce, but this feels like, to depend on Chubb does not feel like I'm with a team that's defense is ready for a championship. It just doesn't, with a bad offensive line, it feels like Stroud's either going to be chucking it up for his life. So Nico Collins could be like a really good play in fantasy because it feels like he's going to be getting the ball all day because I don't think they're going to be able to run it well. Their defense is at least be able to keep them in that they're only going to need to score like, 20 points a game probably to win most.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Houston, who had Nico and Tank Dell going on, and they were really being able to throw the ball around. So, it's going to be an interesting division for that one, because I think a lot of those sucky divisions that you look at, whether it's the AFC or the NFC South, both has some suck in it. And so it's going to be interesting to see who emerges. Folks, that's it for this podcast. Ryan and I will be back this week soon to do our week 1 previews.
Ooh, baby.
There's a Thursday night game of Dallas at Philadelphia, with Philadelphia 7.5-point favorites at home. Let's not forget they played in Brazil last year. And then the Friday night game, because the NFL is taking over every night. Kansas City at the Chargers. Kansas City favored by 3 in that
Brazil.
one. So Ryan and I will
do Brazil, isn't it?
Yeah, that one's in Brazil. Yeah. I actually got a Brazilian just for that game as well. So,
nice.
But yeah, we'll look at those ones and see what it's like. But folks, thanks a lot for listening. We'll be back with another podcast coming up this week. Football's back, baby.